Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's our first NFL Monday show of the year. So we brought in a special guest.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Oh, like you've been here in the last few months, right? The background is always Arizona. It's always Scottsdale National, right? Am I right on that?
Golf.
Only on. You were never here. Well, now you're here and I'm here.
I haven't been here. It's football season. I can come back here, man.
Yeah.
But I made a stop yesterday.
I bet you did.
Made a stop.
I bet you're going to tell us. You're going to tell us all those people in the yellow jackets
do that.
who are sitting
on
in the box.
Instagram. They can tune in.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Dak gets his money. Caleb Williams says he'll be better, and down go Notre Dame and Michigan. But we begin today with the glorious return of NFL football and which team suffered the most in that return. Our choices are Carolina, which was pounded by New Orleans. The New York Football Giants, who were booed off their home field after being dismantled by Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings, and the Cincinnati Bengals, who scored only 10 points and lost at home to New England. Wilbon, which of these three had the worst loss?
The Giants, because they looked bad. They got the worst. You got one of the great uniforms in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing.
And you put on that garbage?
No, I didn't
Your
understand.
marketing people should be what?
Yeah, they
told to get out. Fired today. Right. Now, and they lost to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold in that building went weeks without completing a pass, and they lost to him in that building wearing those Halloween costumes.
Bad.
It's an embarrassing day for the New York Giants.
Okay.
Let me just quickly praise Gerard Mayo and the New England Patriots. Okay, he's got the hardest job out there, following the greatest coach of all time in Bill Belichick. They go out, they play a great game. They were the biggest underdog in the NFL yesterday, and they beat the Bengals. So I could have said the Bengals.
Yeah.
And the Bengals look bad, but they look bad every year under Zach Taylor to start the season, and they seem to pull it together. So I'm going to vote for the New York Football embarrassing Giants.
So I'm going to just start at the top by saying how grateful I am to Red Zone. I love Red Zone. Scott Hansen, thanks for being back on the air. My instinct is to say that the worst loss was suffered by Cincinnati, and I know I'm correct on this. You can't lose to New England that way, just scoring 10 points. You can't lose to New England. Here is Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase on the field.
Yeah.
Throws no touchdown passes. Let me get the numbers here. 164 yards in 29 attempts. That's no good. But like you, I recognize their history is they're a slow starting team, and often
they do nothing.
They build momentum.
Nothing.
The other two losses are hideous.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Carolina's irrelevant.
They stink.
They do.
Carolina.
They do.
Their quarterback was awful. Okay. He was the number one pick overall last year, and they traded up to get him. And as a result of that, you got a great receiver, right?
Yeah.
Here's his numbers. Here's Bryce Young's numbers. He threw 30 passes, 161 yards. It's just no good.
It doesn't matter what he did. You don't need to give me the numbers.
The Giants, though.
Did they show that on Red Zone? I was at a game, so I don't know what Red Zone had.
The Giants are a disaster, and I will say this.
They are.
If this continues, Brian Daboll does not get out of this season. No. If this continues
Here's what should happen today if I owned New York. If I bought the New York Giants today, I would walk first into the marketing department and say, everybody get the hell out.
Right.
And then I would get to the corner office with Brian Daboll and say, you got 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You got 2 weeks to do better than this.
Daniel Jones was hurt last year, but he was terrible yesterday. He had, he had no touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. He produced 6 points. It's no good.
The whole team.
It's no good.
They stink. You know what? That sort of makes me feel good. The Giants, one of your I-95 teams, stink. The Cowboys took care of business in 2 ways yesterday. For one, they beat down the Browns in Cleveland. And they also agreed to a new deal with quarterback Dak Prescott. He got his money, 4 years and $231 million guaranteed, which is $1 million more than Dak's counterpart, Deshaun Watson, got 2 seasons ago. Watson was terrible yesterday, Tone. Yeah. So whose contract is more worth pondering today, Dak's or Deshaun's?
There is absolutely no reason to ponder Deshaun Watson's contract.
Yes, there is.
It's a terrible contract.
Yes.
It's $230 million guaranteed, and at the moment, he looks like a very marginal quarterback.
Yeah, if that.
You don't like statistics. You also don't like I-95. I like both of those. He threw for 169 yards, 1 TD, 2 picks. He was sacked 6 times. He took 45 attempts, Mike. 169 yards is less than 4 yards per attempt.
Yeah.
Okay, last year, if I'm not mistaken, it was Joe Flacco who got that team to the playoffs.
That's right.
Because Deshaun Watson was hurt. There is this carryover baggage with Deshaun Watson for all these guarantees when he was involved in the dicey stuff with the massage therapist. So half the people don't want him at all. And if he has 2 more games, you talk about 2 more games to Daniel Jones, if he has 2 more games like this, nobody would want him.
But the cap hit would be so massive for Cleveland.
I'm just saying nobody would want him.
Stuck.
Dak Prescott, the question you have to ask yourself is he worth more than every other quarterback in the NFL? And of course he's not.
But he was.
I don't even have him in the top 8.
Runner-up for MVP.
He was fine yesterday. They were up 20-3 at the half. His stats weren't good, but he won big. The question, of course, is that what does he do in the playoffs? The thing is about his money. Of course he got his money. Jerry pays everybody. He ultimately pays everybody. He just likes to be in the spot.
He cost himself money by not getting these deals done earlier, but I don't care about his money, and I don't care about Dak's money. Deshaun Watson is a story, a legitimate story. And if you want to talk about karma, that's a legitimate position to feel and hold and take. This guy was up there mentioned in the same breath as Patrick Mahomes 4 years ago.
For a couple of years.
And
that's right. He was very good.
He had some seasons that
in
made
Houston,
people want him.
he had good seasons.
And now he looks dreadful.
Yep.
And you wonder about the coaching, his emotional and psychological makeup. We don't know what he's going through now on the other end of this and whether he's ever going to be the player we saw in Houston. Because right now he doesn't look like it.
No.
So his is worth pondering. Dak's is just fodder for shows, usually not this one.
Not this one.
But we knew he was going to get his money. And by the way, they're good, and they're good, and they're good until they're not.
That's right.
So we will judge Dak Prescott and his money win in January.
Playoffs. All right, Wilbon, this story set up completely for you. 3 rookie quarterbacks started yesterday. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Bo Nix. 2 of those 3, Daniels and Nix, lost on the road, and your guy, Caleb Williams, won at home. What are your reviews of the rookie quarterback?
It's short and sweet. They look like rookie quarterbacks. They look like guys starting for the first game of their rookie seasons, which none of them should be. And they all start now for financial reasons, 90% financial reasons.
That's right.
And none of them should be starting because we don't necessarily – I didn't even think Peyton Manning and Troy Aikman should have been starting. But they shouldn't be starting, but they're out there. But the one thing, and I was at the Bears game, which you referenced.
With Hall of Famers. Sitting with Hall of Famers.
Yes.
Wearing yellow Hall of Fame jackets.
Richard Dent, Mike Singletary, Jimbo Covert.
Pretty good.
And my man Otis Wilson, who should be.
Otis, my man, as
Otis,
they say.
My man Wilson. And so watching a game with them is a little different. It is. Because the opinions you're getting are not just talking heads, and they're people who play for that franchise, and they're watching Caleb Williams very closely. The Bears' offense was what the Bears' offense usually is. At one point, somebody in the box says, well, the offense is going to make a play. And Richard Dent says, and I quote, have you been watching for the last 103 years? And it was a funny line at the time. But it's true. The Bears won as they always win.
That's why they win.
Defense and specials, and they're going to get better. They'll be fine later.
Yeah.
But those 3 rookie quarterbacks, and you got Daniels, and I'm sure you watched him closely. They look like rookies. It's okay.
Yeah. No, statistically, they didn't set the world on fire. Okay. Daniels had the best day. He had 184 yards passing and 88 yards rushing, and he had the highest rating. But his team got thrashed. You know, they were never actually in the game.
Yeah.
Bo Nix completed 26 passes, only 138 yards, and he had 2 picks.
He's throwing sideways
Caleb Williams
passes.
didn't even get to 100. Did not get to 100.
Yeah.
He had 93 yards passing in 29 attempts, which is brutal. But he's on a team that has some receivers, and he's on a team that has a defense, so he can do something this year. The other 2 cannot. And it's right that you mentioned Troy Aikman and Peyton Manning, because even though they're in the Hall of Fame, their rookie years were tough.
Yeah,
Jaden Daniels. So I watched that. I flipped out of the red zone for periods of time to watch that specifically. I have 2 pieces of advice for Jaden Daniels. Keep your hat on, son. Keep your hat on.
Sliding school.
Because you lost it twice and you can get killed.
Yeah.
And 2, don't rush 16 times. You're not Lamar Jackson. People in Washington remember Robert Griffin, how he got hurt.
Isn't
You
he
can't
built
do it.
similarly to Robert Griffin?
Yes.
Great athlete, but not.
Can't do
He's
it.
got to learn how to slide, by the way.
Yes.
A couple of he's doing that head first Pete Rose thing. That ain't going to get it, son.
No. But overall, you can't judge him till 9, 10, 11 games. You can't. Let's take a break. Coming up, Jim Harbaugh wins, the Rams lose, and C.J. Stroud tops Anthony Richardson.
Ooh, Richardson. Notre Dame fell at home to Northern Illinois. That makes me happy.
It does?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I root against Notre Dame all my life. I admire them. I root against them. Like the Packers and the Cardinals. I hate Notre Dame. I root against them every...
While other...
It's time to find out what's rankling the rank and file in mail time. Let me see what's first here. We're going to alternate
them. It's a sunny Monday. Be happy.
Chargers and Rams. More newsworthy result from an L.A. team. The Chargers win or the Rams loss?
I think the Rams lost probably, Tony, because the Rams played even against Detroit, the team I think is the best team in the NFC, in Detroit, in Ford Field. It's an even game. So I know that it's a loss. It's fine. It's still week one, and it's a longer and longer and longer season. But I thought the Rams played pretty well in that effect. And the Chargers didn't do anything to distinguish themselves, not in week one. But I thought the Rams handled themselves very well under some tough circumstances. And maybe, I know Kansas City gets a lot of hype, for me, the toughest place to play other than Green Bay in the NFL.
I'm so glad I'm here so that I can look at you in the eye and say, what are you talking about?
I just told you.
The Rams' loss is an expected loss. They go to Detroit, a really good team.
Yeah.
They play them very tough, I grant you.
So maybe they're the number 2 team in the league, in the NFC.
But I would say that Matthew Stafford is not this year the quarterback he was 3 years ago when they made that trade for Jared Goff. And Jared Goff has gotten better. This is not a surprising loss.
Okay, but all newsworthy.
More newsworthy by far is the Chargers, and I will thank you, and I will tell you why. Because of Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh has alighted there. Jim Harbaugh is one of the biggest stories in the NFL. They win the first week. He's a program builder, and he's not walking into a bad team with a rookie quarterback.
He's not.
He's walking into a really good quarterback and a team that for the last X amount of years would get the lead in games and couldn't close. And he closed. So you get the sense that Harbaugh is doing what he always does.
Week one in a situation that not newsworthy was the question. The Rams in prime time last night played even in Detroit.
My answer is my answer. This is you.
It's the wrong answer, but we'll let it go.
Correct answer.
Texans Colts. Who wowed you more, C.J. Stroud or Anthony Richardson?
Okay. So Anthony Richardson is a physical marvel. Mm-hmm. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he can throw it 80 yards. He also gets hurt a lot.
Okay.
Well, but they played each other. He did not win that game. C.J. Stroud won that game. Yeah. Just like last year when he took a team that had 3 wins and he got 10 wins out of them. And I know you don't like statistics, but they're important. 234 yards, 2 touchdowns to Stephon Diggs. Now, Anthony Richardson had over 200 yards on just 9 completions, but the other guy won. Pick up where you leave off. He wows us because he wins.
Yeah, he does. And now he's got Diggs and Mixon. They couldn't run the ball very well last year, and now they can with Mixon. And he's got Diggs. Look, I got Houston winning the AFC. Okay? Not the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
The Houston Texans winning the AFC. And that those 3 guys are central to that. But let me just say this about Anthony Richardson. I know he only completed like 9 of 19, whatever it was.
But it's over 200
yards. You know what
yards.
it reminds me of? He's not throwing the ball sideways.
No.
He's not going like
down
the
the
boy
field.
Bo Nix and
going down the field.
You know what it looks like? And I think you're going to identify
Darryl LaMonica?
Even more so, because he's big and strong. Terry Bradshaw.
Okay.
Where he stands in there and he launches it, and it's none of this West Coast offense stuff. Let me throw a swing pass, and the guy, breaks some tackles, and you get credit for. No. This is old-fashioned football. I don't know if it'll hold up. I don't know if it's sustainable.
You don't know if he'll hold up because he gets hurt.
I don't know if the coach, coaches now are such sheep. Maybe this is the best way for the Colts to play, is to let him just lob those. It's not a lob, it's a howitzer. Those 65-yard passes. And do that and complete 9 or 10 of those a game, but they won't go there.
The other guy keeps
They won't
winning.
sustain it.
The other guy picked up where he left off.
He's better.
Yeah.
And we play him Sunday
He's
night
really good.
in Houston.
College football. Biggest college clunker of the weekend, Notre Dame, Michigan, or Colorado?
Well, clunker is an interesting word because it depends on what you're looking at clunker mean. Notre Dame losing at home to Northern Illinois. I don't think they ever lost to a MAC team. They avoid MAC teams. They avoid whoever they don't want to play. But as you have pointed out to me, all those kids in the MAC, they're recruited by the same. They grow up in high school playing with the same kids who go on to the Big Ten and Notre Dame, particularly in the Midwest. And they get angry at these games. They don't win these games. And this was a great moment for Northern Illinois, which I am very familiar with. I'm afraid that Colorado's loss might have been the biggest clunker. Michigan, I told you before the game, they're going to get blowed out by Texas, and they did. I'm going to stay with Notre Dame just because it made me happy.
Yeah, I think by far the answer is Notre Dame. They scored, 14 points at home against Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
Mike, when this happened, I wrote you a text, and I said this might be one of the 5 worst losses of all time. This is a loss that gets a quarterback benched and a coach fired. This is Notre Dame.
But it's not even Notre Dame's most notable loss in the last 20 years. I mean, it's not like Appalachian State because Northern Illinois is better.
I understand. That was Appalachian State was Michigan. That wasn't Notre Dame.
Michigan.
So let me go to Michigan.
Okay.
Michigan's not a playoff team this year. Michigan lost a coach. Michigan lost a quarterback. They probably lost 12 to 15 starters. And they played Texas, and Texas looks like a top 5 team. Texas looks really good.
They do look good.
Colorado is all about talk. Now, that's good for us. But it's just talk. Mike, they don't have an offense.
Sanders had been a great player. This was the first bad game he's had.
Pick 6 early.
He had a bad game.
Okay, look.
Bad game.
They have no offensive line.
None.
They have no defensive line. So you begin to say, whoa, does it look like a 4-8 again? Does it look like that again?
Listen, you can have 43 transfers. You can have skill position people come in off
Doesn't
the
make you a
team.
team.
You can't build a line.
Gotta have a line.
An offensive line has to be together for more than a week.
Gotta have
and
a line.
43 transfers doesn't allow. I think there's one returning offensive lineman, and they can't protect that.
Enough email. Let's take one last break. Still to come. Jordan Love goes out.
And Justin Fields gets the better of Kirk Cousins.
You have a worse loss for Notre Dame ever? Just tell me, because you study Notre Dame. Tell me.
I hung the Appalachian State loss.
Well, that's Michigan.
It's Michigan.
Yeah.
The Big Finish is brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts with Dick's.
We're running out of show. We go to the Big Finish. The great quarterback at Notre Dame, a great quarterback for the Washington football team, where he was the league MVP in 1983 and a Super Bowl champ, and a great friend to Mike and me. When Joe was playing in Washington, he was in much demand on the local TV channels 4, 5, 7, and 9. Theismann had such a keen sense of how to do this that he brought a change of clothes to each station he was going to be on and made sure to vary his talking points with each new sportscaster he spoke with. I traveled with Joe. Every city we went, every city. People from Notre Dame who would take him out for dinner and golf, and he's a very good player.
He was better than people understand now. He's tougher than people understand now. He's an underrated quarterback by a million miles. The first professional athletes I ever got to know, Joe Theismann and Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah. Pretty good, isn't it? We do love Joe Theismann.
Happy anniversary, Baker Mayfield. On this day 7 years ago, Mayfield and the Oklahoma Sooners traveled to Columbus and beat Ohio State. Mayfield tried to plant an Oklahoma flag on the OSU O at the 50-yard line. That year, Mayfield won the Heisman and subsequently became the first overall pick to the Cleveland Browns. In 2019, Ohio State's Nick Bosa exacted his revenge when, as a 49ers rookie, he tormented Mayfield. 2 sacks, 3 hits, forced fumble, and a recovery. He also drew an intentional grounding penalty on Mayfield, and after the game, he planted a 49ers flag on the field. Mayfield has given us plenty to talk about over the years on PTI. I like him. Wilbon hates him.
No.
Mayfield threw for 289 yards and 4 touchdowns yesterday as Tampa Bay drilled Washington.
I hated him in some comic way. I had no reason to hate him. He's evolved as a player and as a person. He has. And the commercials, his commercials when he was in Cleveland, are the best of any of these sports. Why aren't there more? What, Baker Mayfield went away? He could have
He's not in Cleveland
They can't
anymore.
do commercials in Tampa?
You may have noticed who's in Cleveland. We talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
Happy trails to the U.S. Open titles for Jessica Pegula and Taylor Fritz. The 2 Americans lost their respective title matches. Pegula to Arina, I hope I get that right, Arina Sabalenka, and Fritz to Jannik Sinner. Although the Americans played well and were competitive, these were straight set matches in which every single critical point was won by Sabalenka and Sinner. Pegula and Fritz should feel great they got there, but Sabalenka and Sinner, who both won the Aussie Open as well, they were better.
They were better. And we have to note also, Tony, the passing of the great James Earl Jones at the age of 93, whose life intersected with some extraordinary sports works. The Great White Hope started on Broadway in 1967, and Field of Dreams in 1989. And I'm not about to forget the Bingo Long Traveling All-Stars and Motor Kings. Great. James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Man.
We're running out of show. We go to the big finish. The Dolphins beat the Jags. Your thoughts?
The whole thing with Tyreek Hill is so bizarre.
Weird.
It really is. But he played. He played, though, didn't he?
Yeah.
Jordan Love expected to miss several weeks after reportedly spraining the MCL in his left knee. That's a big deal.
It's a very big deal. He was anointed already as being the equal of Favre and Rodgers.
Better early in the season than late, though.
Justin Fields and the Steelers beat Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. Your takeaway?
The game didn't matter to me, but Justin Fields is going to start in Pittsburgh. That's my bet. He's going to wind up starting there. Not Russell Wilson. Monday Night Football. Jets, Niners. What do you expect out of Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I certainly hope he goes more than 4 plays this year. And I think if he goes the whole game, he's going to be very good. I like the Niners to win, but I think he'll be very good. Last one, Angel Reese is out for the rest of the season with a wrist injury. I'm sure you're disappointed.
More than that, because the Sky are flirting with this playoff spot. Angel Reese has been great as a rookie. Her coach, her college coach, she won a national championship with, Kim Mulkey in Chicago at Soldier Field yesterday. That's what great coaches do. When their college players need them, they get there. They get there to support.
Who wasn't in Chicago yesterday? We're out of time.
You weren't there.
We'll try to do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. And now to get you ready for Monday Night Football, here's Scott Van Pelt and the Countdown Crew.
I think we have to linger now for Scotty. Are we lingering,
around?
Scott?
Linger or loiter? Which one?
Well, maybe some loitering as well.
Tony, Mike, thank you so much. Aaron Rodgers.